Hey everybody, welcome back to the Overflow, which is a program here on the Micah and Hatman channel where we discuss, any questions that we sadly were not able to get to during the podcast proper. So, I am of course joined by Hatman here.
I'm here.
And this is not going to be as long of an episode because I need to take a little time to sleep today. And Hatman...
I'm moving furniture.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get right to it. So, some of these, I don't really think there's a lot for discussion because I don't think either of us have really looked at this at all. So, we're going to get through the quick questions real quick and then we'll get to the long stuff. Ryan Potter asked, thoughts on SP//DER? I think it's supposed to be spider.
Maybe. I have no idea about it. That's confusing.
Yeah, it doesn't even sound like remotely familiar to me. I'll send you the drive link so you can see how it's spelled. But it's spelled SP//DER.
That is. Nope, not familiar with it.
Me neither. I'm sorry, Ryan. I have no freaking clue. Nick White asks, have we seen the Nightfall TV series on the History Channel?
I've seen previews for it, and it looks pretty cool. It looks like Deus Vult the series,
basically.
But I haven't actually checked it out.
Same here. Yeah, I maybe at some point I'll have a look at it if it's on Netflix or something. Have either of us read The Goon?
No, but I've wanted to.
I have no idea what it's about. What is it about?
I don't even remember, honestly. It's the art that really got me. I like the style. It almost reminds me of Tank Girl in a way.
Well, fair enough. Is Malcolm McDowell in it is a real question. So those are kind of the quick questions. All right. So Eclectic 1995 asks us a possibly rage-inducing question: our thoughts on midichlorians? I think heresy is a pretty good word for it.
Somebody, I don't remember who it was, explained it as it was a way to show that the Jedi had become, less religious in a way and more dogmatic, if that makes any sense at all, because the fact that they would talk about midichlorians and care about a midichlorian count show that they were more into the science aspect of the Force than the religious or can I say Unitarian, and that still makes sense?
Sort of. I think
ideal of the Force, and I sort of makes sense, but at the same time it's like, okay, I think maybe you're reading a little bit too deep into it.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that trying to introduce something like that takes away from the fantastical and mystical element of the series, which was always part of the drawing point for me. It was this idea that even in space there is still something that remains completely unexplained, and all we really know is from these religious texts. I think that trying to put too much science onto it really takes away the impact of what the Force really is, and it takes away from the mysticism and the mystery of it. It's sort of a I don't know. It's like trying to. I kind of was worried that the Marvel Cinematic Universe was gonna fall into the same issue with Thor by saying that magic and science, from where I come from, they're one and the same. I'm like, don't do it, don't do it. And thankfully with Doctor Strange they didn't do it. So it also gives me hope that at some point in the future Wanda will become a sorceress as well. So we'll have to see what happens there.
Honestly, okay, so you know how there was that thing that the old Star Wars EU did where they would go way out of their way to explain something that was, unnecessary for explanation. Like, for example, doing the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs, it was like going around black holes and shit.
Yeah, basically. That's one thing I hate about
So,
the EU.
so the way that I've always seen midichlorians is that it was one of those unnecessary explanations as to how certain people could be strong in the Force and how certain people couldn't be Force sensitive, and
Yeah,
it just ended up being too stupid.
basically. Let's see here. Do we think that North Korea will ever go through a coup? Um,
Not from a
no.
popular uprising.
Hell no.
I think the only way you would be able to pull that off is if the military commanders would betray the supreme leaders, really.
Basically.
And I don't see that happening because they are already like ridiculously strict with who they select for high command. So
Yep.
no, I don't see it happening. The regime would have to be toppled through outside intervention.
Basically, that's kind of the thing about a communist dictatorship, is that you have to keep in mind North Korea has support from outside forces with China, though that support is dwindling, mostly because of the Trump administration's influence, and the fact that we basically threatened to cripple them economically. So with that, they are so insulated that there's almost no inside influence, and the civilian population has effectively been broken, which is really sad. One thing I would recommend to the audience is I would listen to Christopher Hitchens' lectures on the axis of evil. And I mentioned this in the podcast, I think the most recent one, that Hitchens is the only journalist who actually took the time to go to all three major nations that were in the axis of evil during the height of their evil, basically. Iraq under Saddam Hussein, Iran under Ahmadinejad, and then, of course, North Korea. So I would listen to those lectures one after the other, and prepare to be horrified, but at the same time prepare to really be educated on exactly how bad it is. The stories he tells of Iraq specifically are bone chilling. So yeah, I can't see North Korea going through, like Hat says, it would have to be a military coup, and even then, the chances of that are slim to none. So, all right, final question. This is kind of a short episode of the Overflow, but that's kind of by design. Many people, Sir Bon Voyage gave us a really good question. Many people have noted that Mo Brooks seemed like a great candidate, far better than Roy Moore and Luther Strange, and I would like to know what our thoughts are on him. And also to clarify one thing real quick, there was something I said on the podcast that needs a little bit of expanse, and no, Bone, you were not the one who did this. Whenever you are asking us a question over Twitter, that hashtag, the Micah Q&A hashtag, is basically if you're gonna miss the podcast or if you're not sure if you're gonna make it. And we had saw that somebody who was in the chat at the time basically tweeted us a question that he basically put in there to make sure it got answered because he thought that he could pull a fast one, or at least that's what it seemed like to me. And I'm not a big fan of my intelligence being insulted. So whether it was deliberate or not to try to pull a fast one on us, we just want to make sure that people knew it's like, hey, if you try to do this, just to make sure you get it answered on the podcast, it's kind of dirty. So it's like, this is why we created the Overflow, is so that we could, Hatman and I could get together, answer the questions that we didn't get the chance to answer on the podcasts, because we really want to answer your guys' questions, because we really feel like a lot of podcasts and live streams just don't frickin' do it. So there's no reason to do that anymore. Just we will try to answer it one way or another. Okay, so Mo Brooks, So Mo Brooks, I knew a smidge about when this whole debacle started, and I do think he was a much stronger candidate in regards to his policy, in regards to character as a human being. He honestly, would have been a much better choice than Luther Strange, and definitely Roy Moore. Roy Moore being crap. Mm-hmm. Luther Strange is very, 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 very pro law enforcement, very pro military, very pro Second Amendment. The idea of running him at the front of the ticket in Alabama, he could have, he probably would have dominated the competition, and for some reason nobody got behind him, and I never really understood why. I mean, Bannon did half-heartedly, but it wasn't really enough, and the establishment thought that Luther Strange was kind of the safest pick, and that's kind of what the Republican establishment tends to go with, is the safest pick. So, when Roy Moore won the primary, it was kind of a shocker. But yeah, I'm of the opinion that if Mo Brooks had been chosen, he would have been a phenomenal representative of what Alabama's priorities are. And at least from what I know, from what people who are originally from Alabama have told me about the culture there. So yeah, I mean, I hope that he runs again. I hope that the establishment and people, and also people that are more popular with younger voters like Ted Cruz and Mike Lee and Rand Paul will get behind him and say, this is a guy who cares about our troops. This is a guy who cares about your Second Amendment rights. This is the guy who wants to preserve the lives of our children, because he's very anti-abortion and so on and so forth. And I think that that's the kind of Mo Brooks is the kind of guy you want to run on a Republican ticket. He really just checks all the boxes, and he's a very and the difference that he had or made him better than Roy Moore is much stronger character. He's not the kind of guy you're gonna find out was screwing around with 16-year-olds when he was my age. So that's my thoughts. What do you think, Hatman?
Well, it's kind of funny because Luther Strange was essentially the safe pick, but even then, after he was appointed, you had some Republicans that were questioning the decision of what was Governor Alabama's name? Bentley. You had some people questioning Governor Bentley's decision on him, saying, he's not good enough for it. And so I think Mo Brooks would have been a little bit better of a decision, especially since he had already served as a representative. Mm-hmm. So that's a natural progression. Of course, he would have been much better than Roy Moore.
Of course.
What a train wreck that was. But no, I think you hit the nail on the head. He's got a good conservative record. He would certainly be appealing towards the Tea Party. I think he was the Tea Party's chosen candidate.
Yeah.
And the anti-establishment base. Yeah, I think he would have been certainly fine. Although I'm certainly not shedding any tears because I know that he's going to run again for his congressional seat, which perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So at least he can serve in some way.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that either he will try again for the Senate seat when that comes around in the midterms, or or Luther Strange will again, and and as long as Roy Moore just stays away, we'll get that seat back in Alabama. I'm pretty sure of.
I think Luther Strange will probably be the one to do it because. Brooks is running for his seat this year.
Yeah.
So that'll be it. We'll see. Maybe when this Senate term expires, because we still have to have another special election.
Yes, it's true. So. The only downside is that Luther Strange is not a doctor. So that would be but he does have like one of the best politician names that that I think I've ever seen. On top of that, he's actually a really intimidating guy. He stands he towers over Mike Pence. Mike Pence is not a short person, so
yeah, that's pretty crazy.
So yeah, he's I really don't understand. I'm so glad that Steve Bannon is going away. I really am. This whole Alabama situation is so stupid.
So, real talk.
Go ahead.
Somebody needs to award Luther Strange an honorary doctorate. so he can call himself Doctor Strange.
Yes. All right. Well, that's all we got for this week. As always, folks, you can if you have a question that you would like to have answered on the podcast and you think you're going to miss it, please tweet at us tag one of us or both of us and use the hashtag Micah Q&A. And please use that hashtag, by the way. Yes.
Some people I know have been just tweeting questions at us and not using the hashtag, and it doesn't always get through.
No. I will be honest. If I'm looking on Twitter when we're doing the podcast, if I'm the one doing it, I'm looking at the hashtag. I'm not looking at my tags.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing.
You guys have
too.
to keep in mind, like, my channel continues to grow. Like, my notifications continue to blow up every day. So
yes.
it's kind of difficult for me to really like decipher questions that are supposed to be on the podcast or not. So,
yes, please use the hashtag. Don't DM us. Don't at us unless you're using the hashtag.
Well, my DMs are closed anyway, so.
Well, mine are not. So that's.
You're a braver man than I. I opened my DMs for one day and people would not leave me the fuck alone. I'm like, yeah, I'm done with this.
Yeah,
nope, sorry. I'm way too much of a private person for that.
But most of the time, I'm left alone, so it's not awful.
Yep.
But,
all right, guys.
But yes, please, hashtag. Remember that.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, by the time this is posted, I will probably be putting together an outline for my next vlog on the channel. And everybody get on Hat so he'll start doing the same thing.
Okay, fine.
The channel's called Micah and the Hatman, not Micah and the Hatman. Just so you know.
Well, you are leading it, so.
Yeah, that's what I do. All right, folks. We appreciate you guys watching. And we will see you guys soon. Deus Vult.
Deus Vult.